too much mental real estate every day. Feels like I'm prepping for doomsday. I believe that you could be somebody else's baby, 'cause you don't need some damaged psycho freak hanging on to you like a reptile to a crown. I'm a hand in the dirt, I'm your cynical.
Popo will never let his get completely empty. The funny thing is, it'll be completely gone of big chunks of food, but let me pause it.
What?
So his bowl won't get completely empty with food. He'll leave fucking crumbs in there. It'll be like almost a bowl's full of food, but fucking crumbs. It's like he's got some sort of weird thing where if his food is smaller than a certain size, he won't fucking touch it.
Cats are weird with stuff like that, little things.
I don't get it because it's
I like it. They have a personality. I love dogs, but cats have a really peculiar way of doing things, which I think is funny.
It's so like to the human mind, it looks so fucking wasteful because it's literally like the same amount of food. It's just in like little pebble-sized portions of shit that he's already bit.
They get into such patterns, just like us humans, where, if there's a little bit of food in the bowl, but it's, food time, dinner time, my cat will just start meowing for food. And sometimes I'll just hide it, shake it around a bit, and put the same food back down, and she'll start eating.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the ritual of the whole thing.
Yeah, because they want to know, okay, I'm getting fresh food. I'm getting, fresh shit.
Right.
So I noticed, too, I mentioned like how sometimes Popo will have like... pretty much like a quarter, half, almost sometimes 75% full of like crumbs and shit. When I'm pouring food in there, as long as like 3 or 4 fresh little like pieces go in there, he's like, okay, that's enough for me. Go away. Time for me to eat. Yeah. He's like trying to push me away from the bowl. I'm like, dude, calm the fuck down. Like, where was this earlier?
Cats are so funny. My cat's obsessed with food. That's the only thing that goes through her head. I swear, 90% of the day is focused around when do I eat, how much food is left, what are my water levels.
You spoil her though, like because it's so easy because I've done it before too. When and not just a cat, a dog, whatever.
And then you give in, and then suddenly that becomes another feeding time in the day.
It's the same. I noticed the same thing when I would take care of it, like any of the dogs that I ever had as well too. If you keep giving in to when they are begging, they're just going to keep doing it. I mean, obviously, it's just like a kid who, let's say a brand new parent, I'm sure that they fall into a trap where, hey, my kid doesn't want to eat this spaghetti that I made or whatever the fuck you made, the salmon that I made, and they just want to eat like chicken nuggets and fries, which albeit that's good. Like
Kiara will get like that.
You can't eat that shit every day.
Yeah, Kiara will just decide she's done with dry food for the week, my cat, and she'll just keep meowing, and I know it's because she wants some wet food, some of the alternative. Mm-hmm. I guess it's like getting sick of cereal and you want some oatmeal for breakfast. Or it's hard to really say because we don't eat the same thing for every meal. Really.
Yeah, that must be so weird for like a dog, a cat, a hamster, just the same, maybe a different brand, like here and there, but the same food every fucking day.
Well, let's just imagine us eating it, basically the human equivalent of, meat, protein, slop with some... it's good to try to buy the natural brand, so it's at least mainly real fish and chicken, but it's still like all those things mushed together. So if we had a choice of, crunchy or the wet slop, even if it was all disgusting, eventually we'd want to switch back and forth because you get sick of whatever you're eating.
Popo has never really been like this, but I have had other pets. Does your cat get picky over any particular brand of food?
Definitely. I've tried to switch brands, which I didn't know this till recently, but you're never supposed to quickly switch your cat into any new food. You're supposed to wean them off of it. So, you're supposed to put like a quarter of the new food in, half the next time, and eventually switch over. Because it upsets their stomach, or sometimes they just refuse to eat it because it smells different.
I mean, it makes sense.
But there's certain brands I've always gone back to because Kiki, I'll try something new. Maybe it's a natural brand and it's on sale and she won't touch it. But I just try to get her, the best thing for a reasonable price that she will eat overall. I don't know how we got into cats, by the way. It just kind of popped up.
Yeah. But, welcome to, what is this, episode 68?
Yeah, we were going to get into dreams, but cats kind of just made their way into it. Have you had any weird dreams this week? We were talking about dreams last night, and we just went deep on it. So I figured it'd be a good topic for today.
Any weird dreams this week?
Or a recent time.
Not so much. I just know that I can always tell when I have crazy dreams because on the average night, I guess I'll like sweat just as much as any other person does in their sleep. But when I have crazy dreams, I literally wake up and my bed is soaked. Like it feels like I went swimming. Like I remember one time I woke up like covered in sweat. Like my legs were just like wet. Yeah. I was like, oh my god, did fucking Popo piss on me in my sleep?
Yeah.
I'm trying to fucking like sniff my feet. I'm like, what's going on?
This sounds so disgusting, but some of the craziest dreams I've had, I've waking up to basically thinking I might have peed myself just because there's so much sweat in the bed. Those are always sheet change days.
Yeah. Instant, like, okay, I gotta get this shit washed. Because my fear...
I mean, if you live a whole lifetime or some long experience in some dream and then you just wake up and that whole experience was lived in one position, you're gonna be sweating, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Because your body's going through different things and emotions.
You're moving, yeah.
Yeah, for your from your mind's perspective, you're moving around, you're experiencing things.
I mean, you're tossing and turning,
Yeah, if it's a lucid dream, yeah. That's one thing we were talking about. You don't really have them quite often, right? Lucid dreams?
No one does. I mean, you can train yourself to have, like, actual lucid dreams, but, like...
Well, no one does, right?
I'm talking
People
about...
have them.
Oh, yeah, people have them, but they're not as common as people would think. I'm not talking about, like, you realize you're dreaming and, like, 2 minutes later you wake up. I'm talking about, like, an extended whole night of lucid dreaming. That's pretty rare.
I mean, it's hard to really tell when you're in and out, but...
No, like, it's super easy, dude. It's super easy, because I know when, like, I experience that and I just don't automatically wake up, like, it's like real life. I know that you've experienced that as well,
No,
too.
I mean, throughout the night, if you fall, in and out of deep sleep a few times, maybe 2 out of the 5 times, you might have partial control or, be somewhat aware in it. Other times, you're kind of just seeing things, it's different types of dreaming.
Usually, like...
I definitely have lucid dreams, though.
Oh, yeah.
It happens a lot to me recently, which has been weird. I'm not sure why.
Do it last all night or just 5 minutes? Like...
I mean, you can't tell because your time scale's off. It's just a dream. You realize you're in control of whatever's happening, but then you wake up. And you have no idea how long you're in there, really. I mean, you could try to make up some guesstimate, but no one really knows. I'm guessing it's just like any sort of psychedelic drug where your time scale is completely off. Because it does sometimes feel like a very long time, like an entire day, 2 days in a dream.
5 minutes sometimes, it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. In the opposite spectrum, you can fall asleep for 5 minutes and it feels like hours in the dream.
We were talking about it last night. It's so fucking crazy how humans will just accept that that's just something that we do. Look, think of it this way.
Yeah, why is it not a more discussed topic in society, dreaming?
So, like, obviously, we dream. Well, we sleep every night. Humans have slept forever. Dreamed forever. So we don't.
Sleeping itself is pretty weird too, if you think about it.
So, but we don't think about it. Whereas, let's say you take some sort of psychedelic drug and you're tripping. You're like, wow, this is so crazy. Like I can't believe that this is happening. But in reality, people do that like every single fucking night. But just because it's already like ingrained as a basic human function, we don't even consider it like anything.
Right, it's not 100% confirmed, but it basically is that DMT gets released in your brain when you're sleeping, so you basically are tripping while you're asleep, which is why people don't talk about it, because they're like, oh, it's just something that happened, you see some visuals, but like, no, your brain is having similar reactions of time being off, seeing things, processing events of the day. I think that's really the purpose of dreaming at a biological level. It allows your body, maybe it's, you could say psychological, it's your mind, but it allows you to sort of process the events of the day.
That's what I like in terms of like an evolutionary like use for dreaming. That's what I've heard. It helps because you've experienced it as well too. Most people have, like, let's say you're working on some sort of like homework assignment, project, literally anything, way into the night, and you can't figure it out. You fall asleep. The old saying, sleep on it. You sleep on it, you wake up the next morning, and you can somehow figure it out. Now, in terms of like evolution, people smarter than me have said that one reason why humans dream is to be able to continue to problem solve in a subconscious like state. So in terms of how that benefits humans is we can still problem solve in our sleep, so we'll be able to conquer tasks without actually having to work on them. It kind of saves us time.
Exactly. Everyone's had that feeling where you're trying to solve a problem or just deal with some, question in your life, and you sleep on it. That's like the classic.
Yeah, that's
saying.
the term. Sleep on
a
it.
big purchase, a big decision, job. You sleep on it first because your brain does something subconsciously.
It works shit
while you're
out.
Passed out. Yeah, and you can't, usually figure out exactly what it is. Exactly, it just pops into your head when you wake up. You know the answer, or the exact move to make.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean most people have experienced that because like just dreaming, that's a basic human function. Even if you don't realize it, like when you're a kid, that's really big. Like because even I think I had more crazy dreams when I was a kid too, because at that point you're getting in so much information and your brain's trying to piece shit together that as a kid that's a lot more valuable to dream, I would say, than it is when you're like 60 years old.
Right, because often you get weird mixes of things from your past get blended in with current problems in your life or current things that are making you happy, sad, and you get this strange mixed reality. And sometimes you question, what does this all mean? But it's obviously helping you at some level. It means something. Or it could just be as they portrayed in Inside Out, the Disney movie, where you have your 5 emotions, or little animated characters controlling
I've
you.
never seen that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you basically have free will, but they help manage you. It's like they're like a management board of directors behind you, and they each control each emotion. But in that case, they basically have dreams as just entertainment. It's like a movie set, so they have all these teams who basically, it's like Hollywood, where they set up all these stories or scary ones for nightmares. But it's all just to keep you entertained, which I've also heard is a real theory, is that the brain just can't go completely blank. Have you heard that saying as a kid, that you can't stop thinking or you die?
Oh, no.
Yeah, because that
the
was
thing
a
was
thing
like,
people used to say.
I would hear that. If you don't dream at night, that means you die. It's like, what the fuck? Like that? No, that's obviously that's not true.
I wonder what that
We need
started
sleep.
from, because
Well-
it could have some truth to it. Like, what if our brains can't go 100% blank? Because even if you say I'm doing nothing, if someone texts you and you're just sitting on the couch, your brain's always processing some small thought or thinking about something.
If I had to guess, like, as being as realistic as I can with that saying, if I had to guess the origins of that, it's probably because, like, I mean, as humans, if we don't sleep, eventually we'll die. So that's probably how they kind of got, like, intertwined together. But because look,
I heard it even as a test
people,
while you're
people
awake,
meditate, like
Yeah.
like you can make your mind go blank. Obviously you don't die,
You can do an extent, and I think that's what you're always really chasing in meditation, because there's people come with 50 different variations and they want to charge people for classes and apps, but when it really comes down to it, what you're doing when you meditate is trying to just block out all the noise, the random thoughts you're having, and just basically be present. That's the whole mindfulness thing
Yeah.
people talk about. It's just being in the moment. So whether that means a dog barking down the street or a serene jungle, it doesn't mean there's no noise. You're gonna have a perfect environment. It's just,
What is your focus on?
yeah, it's getting out of your head and just really listening to the things around you, maybe your own heartbeat, your breath. It doesn't really matter. Some people argue, you have to do these breathing techniques, but the main thing is just slow, controlled breathing and listen. Every time I've tried to meditate, that's all it really is. You really, come down to in the end. You can try to use apps, but you just have to really just sit there and just stop thinking about shit.
I remember back in high school, it was towards the end of it, I had a psychology class, and at one point in the year, it could have just been because my teacher at the time was like, what, fuck these kids, I'm done. I'm just gonna like try to get them distracted.
Right.
But towards the end of the
It
year,
was research work or something along those lines.
towards the end of the year, she was like, okay, class, she sat us down. We're going to, about 2 times a week, last like probably a couple weeks of class, like we're going to meditate. So she had her own like fucking script and shit. Like she would shut off the lights, have everyone shut the fuck up, and she would for like 45 minutes just read out just like random like meditation techniques for us.
Okay.
And as a what 15 to 17-year-old kid.
Would it go silent, or was it more of guided meditation? Like, release your thoughts, focus on your
That
breath?
it was like that. Like everything else, and the only sort of like
That can
audio.
be good because probably most people is their first time. So people are like, how do I meditate?
The only sort of like audio that we got was just her speaking. Honestly, I didn't just like meditate because I mean, half the time me and my friends were like fucking around, getting kicked out of class because we thought it was funny to make like little poop noises, while she's trying to get us all calmed down.
Sometimes I look back to when I was doing idiotic things like that in high school. It's like, why didn't I just experience the thing, or just learn whatever we were trying to learn? I probably would have appreciated knowing that now instead of just watching some dumb shit on YouTube that day or not doing my homework.
See, if they were around back when we were high school, because you can get like THC like oil pens. If those were back around when we were in fucking high school, my god, like
I can't lie to you and say I wouldn't have tried it.
Oh, dude, see,
it sounds like you have this thing you don't actually have to spark or anything, and it just gives you basically the weed experience.
See,
I'd be like, maybe this will give me more into my homework.
I didn't smoke back in high school, but if I had the option to hit a pen in you could fucking hit that in class. Like I feel like that's a
I really don't
a thing in high school now.
Like I'm saying I probably would have tried it at the time, but in general you shouldn't be smoking that early. They've shown just
they say like 25. They say you really shouldn't smoke weed before you're 25 because like that's when the brain is fully developed. But you can honestly, I mean, if you're gonna say that, then people should, which I mean they shouldn't, like drink before 25, smoke nicotine before 25, anything like that before the brain's fully developed.
Right.
But I guess without doing any sort of actual like scientific research, if I had to guess, probably being blackout drunk when you're a teenager is probably worse than getting baked every once in a while as a teenager.
Yeah, I guess it would depend if you're talking someone who's smoking daily when they're 15 versus occasionally, or someone who's drinking heavy. Drinking is not good for anyone.
No.
Nor is really actual smoking of anything.
Any sort of like smoke, whether that's from cigarettes or weed or a fucking cigar, hookah, it's just smoke is not good for your lungs. Obviously some smoke is worse than the others, like the worst being cigarettes, obviously, but that's still shit in your lungs that it shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the details or argue these laws in particular, but you're just saying the ages to start things. I'm sure a lot of people would get angry, including myself, if I was back 15 years old and they announced this, but I think they should just make the start of driving age be 18 instead of 16, because you see so many kids getting into accidents, doing dumb shit. I think they should lower drinking to 18 regardless of any sort of health effects.
I agree because look, if we're
smoking, because they tend to tie those laws together where it's recreationally legal.
If we're comfortable with sending kids out into the fucking military to get shot and blown up, then I feel like we should be able to allow if we can allow kids to make that choice, we can allow them to have a fucking beer if they want,
right. And I'm big on compromises even. Maybe they keep the laws the way they are in terms of drinking and smoking and cigarettes and all that. I'm actually a fan of them increasing the cigarette age up to 21. A lot of states are doing that. But maybe we could meet somewhere in the middle with those ideas. People have argued that for so many years. How about we give people who join the military at 18, they get a pass from that shit?
See, I feel like that's like a Band-Aid for it, because that still doesn't take away from the argument that the kid itself has the choice. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we're going to give them that choice, we should give them choice B as well, too.
That's true. I guess it's just the perspective you look at it. You could also be like, well, they're willing to serve our country. We'll let them drink and smoke cigarettes on base before they're 21. Maybe it's just like an on-base thing even.
No, because anyone who has like a military ID, they'll usually, like, even though they're 18, 19, they'll let them drink anyways if they show that.
I don't know.
I
haven't heard that personally. I couldn't say
I feel like I've heard that.
I could see at a lot of bars, especially if it wasn't a big chain bar, they'd be, be like, sure, whatever, man.
Yeah, because I don't know. It always seems kind of weird, because everyone says, okay, the government should have all this control, or it shouldn't have all this control, but society itself is very picky on what we want to give that control to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not a huge fan in stopping anyone from doing anything to their body if it doesn't hurt others. Which I guess there is secondhand smoke, but that's not in the conversation. It's just should they be allowed to smoke at their own place or outside?
Exactly, because I remember, I'm sure you do too. When we were young, there we could still smoke in like fucking Applebee's and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I get that the secondhand smoke there. That's different than like smoking or drinking in your own house or apartment, whatever.
Like, I'm very thankful that they've banned cigarettes from restaurants, bowling alleys, all that stuff, but I never would want to stop someone from doing it in general, even knowing how bad it is for them. It's just free speech, free action. Same thing with saying anything. I don't believe in, arresting someone, finding someone, banning anyone just for saying something if it's not a direct threat to others.
Yeah, no, it's one thing. It's
really
one thing.
No buts for me in that case.
It's one thing to have a shitty opinion, but it's another thing to call for violence against somebody.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Or to call for someone to be like doxxed or whatever. Like there's a difference in that for sure. I think that while it sucks, like we've kind of discussed it before with social media, it's in 2019 versus let's say like, I don't know, 1962. In both time periods, people have shitty ideas, shitty opinions, shit that would not work for the general society.
Yeah.
But the difference between, let's say, like 1962 is people were passing out flyers. They maybe could get some funding to get an ad in a newspaper or a magazine. The voices of those shitty opinions were a lot quieter and a lot smaller, even though there's generally the same amount of people saying it. Versus in 2019, these smaller groups have a much bigger voice and people make them seem a lot bigger than they actually are. And that's where things get kind of squirrely because, yes, some people's opinions on shit are fucking squirrely, make no sense, and are not good for the general population.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between outright banning someone from saying shit and not giving them a platform, I think that's a little different. I mean, at the end of the day, all of these social media companies are privately owned companies and they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, they can move off to a different platform that maybe will not support but allow them to do what they want to do. That's why
I think the main problem is advertisers, because you see all these platforms sort of copy each other, and they're not just because we don't know what to do, we're just going to copy them. I think that could be part of it, but it's mainly because they share a lot of the same advertisers, so they don't want to get dropped. From their money making sources.
And it's if you look at it, advertisement is the main reason why. Because look, let's be honest.
I really don't get it, to be honest, because they're not condoning that person saying that. They're supporting the platform or whatever.
Like, let's be honest. The only reason why anyone would get thrown off of any sort of forum, website, platform, etc., is because, let's say, there was a group of 10 people, and in that group of 10 people who were paying for some sort of service or using some sort of service, watching advertisements, so that's how the service gets their money, whatever. 10 people. So let's say 1 or 2 out of those 10 people made it so toxic in that environment that the other 8 people left. If I'm that platform, whether I agree or disagree with those 2 people, I'm going to kick them off so I can still keep getting the advertising dollars for the other 8.
Right.
So,
which I don't agree with, but that's just reality.
That's just reality. So when you look at it from a dollar sense, that's why they do it, because they don't want to eliminate the bigger base because a couple shitheads are making shit worse. But since those shitheads had such a loud voice, they make it seem a lot bigger than it actually is, or adjusting the reason why that's actually happening, if that makes sense.
It does. What I'm 100% not in support of is, say, if there is some sort of group where hate's their main message and they decide they want to congregate in some city and do a march, and then the city pays hundreds of thousands to protect them. If say it's a KKK march or, whatever it may be. Even on the other side, if it's like, I don't know. If it's, say, a Black Lives Matter like congregation, I don't think the city should pay for that. I think it's like a private event. If they all want to chip in money and get protection for themselves, but I don't believe in banning any of those people. Even if I look at something they say, I'm like they're wrong or they're an idiot. I think they should have the ability to get flamed, get blasted online.
See, that's one thing that actually really frustrates me. Not in terms of like, okay, so in Detroit recently, wasn't there some sort of like 8 people or some shit, like some sort of like Nazi thing during the Pride Parade or some shit like that?
There was some Nazis that showed up at the Pride Parade, but I saw just recently in California, there's that reporter like John No got beat up along with a few other people in some like Black Lives Matter event.
So here's the thing. So let's say that because it happens, people will get upset. How come the police are protecting these shitheads, or you insert X group right here?
Yeah.
I would 100% rather have the cops there, because while the cops, they don't give a fuck about maybe the one person in there, will support whatever shitty thing is going on, but they're there to keep just general fucking peace, because
Right.
I would rather have that
I get
same
general peace, but I don't believe in paying for like basically private protection, like walking with them and like
no
being on their side.
but they have to, because
Right.
because think of it this way. As long as they get their permits to whatever, to protest or do whatever the fuck, they're still citizens and they still need to be fucking protected.
That's
now
true. They need to be in the middle though. They
They-
can't be like we're the private protection force.
which
for
I
this.
don't think that ever happens. I mean, that I've yet to see like actual police,
Like be on the side of some
yeah,
bad group.
I'm talking about the cops that are there because their fucking sergeant was like, hey, there's a huge fucking thing going on and we need people there, so even bigger mess doesn't happen. Because
Right.
if the cops weren't there in the middle between those like parades and protests, etc., worse shit would happen. Let's
Yeah,
just be honest.
That's true.
So.
Riots.
But a lot of people don't see that, because all they see is negative, and it's coming from a place of like good, where it's like, how come?
There is a lot of bad though. Like what about the cops at the French protests?
No.
The Yellow Jacket.
No, I'm not. I think that's we're talking about two different situations.
Well, just in general, it's some sort of movement, a group showing up, a protest. I mean, I guess we could have narrowed down between protest and a
No, because I mean, seriously, I think that those are two different
protest and a
situations.
parade are different.
Because it's one thing if let's say, take Hong Kong for example, tons of people are protesting a law.
Well, that's government. Let's just say like some
I think-
ideology, like some group that's against some government thought or against some religious group. That's, I guess it's different than directly protesting. Like we're against this law. I think that should be treated differently.
I feel like almost like the government or whatever locality where that is happening is put into a tricky situation, because let's say it's something obvious that like no sort of laws, or I can never say never, I guess, but nothing would happen with 8 people, 12 people saying, like, get rid of the Jews, throwing up Nazi shit and a little fucking, micro protest. Nothing in terms of like, they're not going to impact anything. Let's be honest. They're just going to make some noise.
Right.
So the difference between like that and one small group versus another large, let's say Hong Kong type group protesting an actual like law or new sanction or something that happened, I feel like that's a little bit different, because that's
Well, they're directly against the thing they're in, so it's not like the police are showing up to keep peace. It's, it can turn into the cops suddenly feel like, I'm not one of them, I'm on this side, like the government side. So you see things, like the Tiananmen Square in China can happen. Rare, thankfully, but I think people always have that underlying thought that if it is some sort of government protest, I don't think people are necessarily happy to see government-related officials there.
No. I mean,
Police, any sort of SWAT teams, riot teams, keeping things in peace. Because, suddenly a riot could break out, and then people, their human instincts kick in. Some guy throws a rock at a cop, and the cop suddenly shoots him with a stun gun. Then some guy has a real gun.
Oh, yeah, that's why people always want to say that shit like that can't happen in the U.S., even though it already has. Like Kent fucking State, like the government murdered fucking college students at fucking Kent State for protesting Vietnam.
Exactly.
Shit like that has happened here.
And just recently at another college, it's been cross-referenced with the French situation. I forgot exactly which university, but cops were just walking around just like low-key, not even caring, just spraying people with pepper spray on the ground. Like, these people were already subdued, and they're just spraying them in the face for no reason.
See, that's because
with no emotion.
I've seen that in too many different protests around the world, U.S., Hong Kong, etc. That I wonder if that. What do you think? I wonder if that's more so. Let's say their superior saying, "Hey, make sure that these people, like, spray them one more time, make sure that they're done," or is it just that one particular cop saying, just trying to be a dick and saying, just fuck these people?
I think humans are very complicated creatures, and we love to compartmentalize every aspect of life. We like to-do lists, we like to see a visual calendar on Google Calendar and see how our day is going to be planned out. So I think it's similar to emotions. We just like to believe someone's like this or like that. But when you look at the entire situation, there's, a power factor involved. These cops have weapons on them, but there's also tribal, these college students go to school together. They're going to have each other's back and feel like, they need to, someone pushes their friend, they got to, like, get that cop back. But the cops also feel that way. These are guys they work with, that they don't know what could happen to any of them on a daily basis. Someone could shoot them at a traffic stop. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of emotions involved. There's political angst involved. Too many factors to really break it down into, why was that guy spraying someone in the face? We don't know where his head was at.
It's like driving. It's like, you know how, like, you're driving on the freeway and one person, like, gets close or cuts you off, you automatically get into, like, freak out mode. It's like, whoa, back the fuck up. Like, what's going on? Let me look at the situation. Road rage. Whereas you put people in that's being put in a stressful situation. So put two groups of people in a stressful situations, a cop and a protester, they're going to be experiencing similar emotions.
Yeah.
Like that, like, hyper-focused fight or flight.
With all the just rage in people's lives, with stress with work, divorces, and then adding in distractions of cell phones, notifications, calls, music, honestly, if there's anything to look to prove that there might be some sort of higher power keeping things flowing smoothly, just look at driving. I wonder on a daily basis when I'm out and about, you see so many idiots and so many close calls, but for the most part, yeah, there's accidents daily, but not anywhere near as much as you'd think for the amount of distractions and people looking down at their phones. Like so many, like, seems like guardian angel moments happen to people. Like, you'll look in front of you and some guy will cross the line and almost hit a car oncoming. He doesn't even notice. He's looking down at his phone. And you're like, things just tend to keep moving on. It's amazing.
It's, which I know we've discussed it before, but every time I think about car accidents, I think of, just because it's going to happen, the future where those just aren't a thing anymore because all cars are basically on just a grid, just self-driving.
Exactly. It's not even necessarily being, like you said, self-driving, not necessarily on a locked-in grid or anything. Just every car is going to be aware of where every other car is. Even if it doesn't have, at first its own self-driving capabilities.
It's only going to get better.
There'll be enough sensors that eventually a lot of cars will be able to see other cars on the road. And they already have cameras, and some cars have partial self-driving. But I think give it 10 years, and it'll be a lot safer on a daily basis. Look at today. I mean, you get in... most cars are safer than anything.
Sensors are one thing, but I know that there are cars out there where they won't let you, if a sensor's going off, it won't let you go into a different lane. But
like the Cadillac, some are stronger than others. On the Escalade, I've heard that it has a lane keeping sensor, not even if it detects there's a car next to you. So it'll just try to keep tracking the lane. So you actually have to give it a little bump to like move over in the
But
next
see,
lane.
until you literally can't. You can't at all
Yeah.
move over there because with some of these you can do, like you just said,
I don't
you can
think
you can bump over there, but until that's just gone, we're still gonna have accidents.
Yeah,
Humans are idiots.
They're never going to take away the full manual takeover ability for emergency situations. Like
I feel like in the future they will.
possibly,
Yeah.
maybe a really long time.
Never say never, dude. Never say never.
Well,
because
think of a situation now where something fails. You need to have the ability for the human to get the car out of the way, or
now we do. We
Yeah.
do now.
Yeah,
But like I'm not talking about like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about maybe like 50, 100, 200 years from
I
now.
hope we get there, and I also hope I'm dead because I like driving.
See, we've
I like the
yeah.
choice. We talked about it a million
Yeah.
times. I just want the choice. So I have to throw a Jeep under the bus here. So at certain cars, as you said, the electric and self-driving, there's things like the Tesla, the Model 3, 5-star ratings in almost every crash test. And it looks cool. They have this new Jeep Gladiator pickup where it looks like basically sort of like a Humvee. Think of a Wrangler with a pickup truck bed in the back.
Okay.
Smaller than a full-size truck because it's like a Jeep, still
Right.
4-door. But I was looking, and if you look up the NHSTA, it's like National Highway Safety Association, basically the crash test ratings you see on any new car with
Right.
the black stars. And the Jeep got like a 1.5 out of 5
Damn.
in the front partial angle test. And if you look at the video / pictures of it, just the collision with the front, right or left near the wheel, it smashes all the panels all the way up into the windshield, and the crumple just looks horrific on the crumple zone. Then you compare it to the Tesla, as we were just saying, it has all these sensors to help dodge cars, stay away from even getting into an accident in the first place. But then when it does, it has even higher crash rating than most other cars. So it's just the thought process, the ideology of the company. Like, Jeeps is trying to get out something that sells.
Right.
Tesla's trying to work on, the way we live our lives, the daily experience of driving.
So, question for you
Sure.
now, because I know that you're super into cars.
Yeah.
The aesthetics of cars as well too.
Yeah.
So let's say, and don't look at why I'm going to put the scenario, but let's just say that you had a choice. Someone offered you, and these were the only 2 vehicles that you could purchase for the rest of your life.
I'd be sweating.
So
Or
someone
maybe
asked,
not. It might be
Yeah.
a clear-cut choice. Let me hear it.
someone asked you, okay, I'm not sure what your favorite type of car is or your favorite like aesthetic of a car,
My
but
car, my Mustang.
let's say you had the choice of the most beautiful car that you could ever hope to imagine.
Okay, we're talking no price limits.
No price limit.
Okay.
The most beautiful car that you could ever have in your life. You loved it. You could either have that car, or you could have a car where you're going to be 100% safe. You're not going to die in a vehicle accident when you're in that car ever. Let's say it's literally fucking impossible. Would you rather have the safety of that vehicle, or would you rather have the aesthetics of your vehicle of choice?
So is my vehicle of choice anything that actually exists?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll have to...
Which-
whatever
and-
I choose,
yeah.
I'm stuck in forever.
Yes.
And is this 100% safe choice? Is that like I literally can't die if I get in an accident? Or
Well,
is
I
it
mean,
just-
obviously, if your passenger shoots you in the fucking head while you're driving, you're gonna
Not-
die.
I mean,
but-
just any accident, any traffic accident.
No, you won't die.
Just tell me the level of boring we're talking about on the safe car.
Um,
Like, is it the ugliest, most boring?
Imagine it looks like a fucking like '90s like minivan.
A 90s minivan. Is it like electric? Like what's my daily driving experience though?
So I mean,
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
I can easily
let's
pick
just say
the car
let's just
if
say
I know
okay.
this other car.
Let's just say it has like basically all the amenities of like a new vehicle now, like a nice interior, like the sink, everything. It looks like a piece of shit, but it's safe.
Okay. So let's just say it's like a 90s like Ford minivan, but it has a 2018 EcoBoost drivetrain. Like a regular gas car, but new drivetrain. It's not going to break down. But it's the safest thing ever.
No, I mean, I like talking about like you literally like you can't. Again, this is made up because
Right.
it's
So
a
it's the
thing.
safest vehicle ever. New drivetrain, ugly as shit 90s minivan looking body. That's easy. I would pick like yeah, I love loud and cool cars, but assuming this is the only car I can ever drive, I mean that instantly eliminates even my Mustang, even though I love it a lot. It eliminates any sort of Corvette, Ferrari, Lamborghini. Easily would be Tesla. Probably the Model X
Tesla.
SUV, because then I have the full size of the SUV, and that's like the largest thing they have out. Because I could get the fully loaded the 100D. It's going to be way faster than my current car, fast as a Lamborghini, and you can take all your friends. And it's 5-star crash rating, so yeah, I'd go with a.
But you can still die in it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I still can right now.
True. Yeah. See,
It's just like that Tesla's way safer than my car ever would be in a million years already. So, and I know it's how fast and fun it would be to drive. So yeah, I would no qualms taking that over some just boring ass ugly thing I got to drive every day.
Yeah, see,
honestly.
that's where you and I differ because, like, let's say, like,
You would take the old looking minivan thing?
100%.
I think of the daily driving experience. Like, I'm assuming this thing's going to look like a piece of shit, so the interior is not going to be fantastic. Like the Tesla, I can have, like, my big map up, jam to music. Like, I don't want to drive that goddamn thing forever. Like, you're 50 and you're still driving that same old minivan thing.
Think of it this way. I guess I'd rather be driving that. Let's say I would rather be driving that thing than be dead in some less safe vehicle 20 years earlier.
That's true. You just never know. I guess it's a sliding scale. It's like how some people take out like an 80s convertible or 70s convertible, and they know they could just die instantly, get their head chopped off. There's no like, bars that pop out when you roll over. They have some crazy shit nowadays. Like, do you know if you flip a Ferrari upside down, bars shoot out at the rate of
Fucking Grand Theft Auto? Like,
well, so in the back seat area, there's these squares. If you see it on a lot of convertible exotics in high-end cars, I think BMW has this too, and Mercedes, where if you roll over, it has some sort of yaw or accelerometer in the car's computer, and at the rate of I think like a 22 or a shotgun shell, it'll shoot these bars out that are reinforced steel.
kind of push the car over.
Not to push the car over, they shoot straight up. So picture your car goes to roll over. Before it even hits the windshield in where your head would be, some bars pop out in the back to balance it on the windshield, so your head's not laying down up against the cement.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's driving a modern car is already leaps and bounds safer than what we were just dealing with, 20, 30 years ago. So,
All right.
Yeah, I think a Tesla, if you got to pick something that's out now, that would keep you future safe proof for a while.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, you make a good point. If I were to choose any sort of vehicle right now for just safety, it would be a Tesla.
It would be really annoying right now because I don't have a place to charge it at my apartment. There's no charging spot.
Just plug it up in the fucking wall.
Yeah. For how much I love driving, though, assuming I can still keep my Mustang around, it's paid off now. I just like to drive it for fun, honestly. But if I had a place to charge a Tesla and the cash, trust me, I would have already ordered a Model 3. Like, that would be the car I'd buy. You can think,
Right.
oh, look at this Mercedes or Lincoln for 40, 50,000. I see, like, a new Lincoln driving by, and all I ever think nowadays is, I would have bought a Tesla. Model 3.
I like all the extra features.
I just like how minimal the design is, and they do get a lot of crap because they don't really have a soul in the way of that. Like, yeah, it's fun listening to the engine sound, but like they actually drive really good. Like, as much press as they get about the autopilot, the self-driving features, most of that's not really complete for how much you hear about it. You can use it on the freeway, but around city streets, it's all you. And I heard it's more enjoyable to drive than 95% of cars because there's no lag, there's no gears. It's instant.
It just goes.
Yeah, so if you're at a red light, it goes green, you're just jamming to music, you just hit the gas, you just get instant thrust like a roller coaster. You can just push back and take off.
Have you ever driven a Tesla before?
I have not drove a Tesla before, but I have been in a car that was arguably cooler, way more expensive. It wasn't full electric, but the Porsche 918, it was famously known as their like $918,000. Actually, it was euro, 918,000 euro.
Oh, that's still fucking expensive.
It's more.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was basically the $1 million Porsche they came out with, and I got to take a ride in it. And up to 20 miles an hour, it's full electric. So it's the craziest experience you can basically get in a car, I think, compared to maybe just a full launch of a Tesla, because it launches you silently, and as you hit like 20 miles an hour almost instantly, because it's like this really low, wide supercar, so it grips really good. The engines are behind you, and the exhaust is, like, sticks out like looks like jet turbines, and the engine kicks on seamlessly as you're going. So basically you launch silently and the engines kick on and they push you even harder, so it's like a rocket second stage kicking on.
That's one thing I've always
the
thought was
feeling's weird though. That first jump though, you feel nothing and the car just takes off.
I feel like I've heard of other cars working like half on electricity, half on gas. Like it'll run on electricity to a certain speed and then kick over to gas.
Yeah, usually, I mean, that's in a more boring example, that's exactly how a Prius works. So instead of having a gas engine connected to a transmission that's connected to, you know, a drivetrain, and you have like, if it's a rear-wheel drive, you have like the drive shaft, and then the wheels are connected directly to that. With like a Prius, the way it works in most hybrids is you have a gas engine, usually a small like 1 liter one, and that runs and just is a generator. So think of like a generator for your house. It just fills up electricity in small battery cells, because they're a lot smaller compared to something in a Tesla. That's why constantly the engine has to keep kicking on as you're driving. But the engine runs off the electric motors. So you have actual electric motors connected to the wheels, but there's a gas engine powering the electric motor, if that makes sense. So that's the classic hybrid you've heard about for years.
Right.
That's kind of the common thing. The Porsche was a special example. That's some crazy tech they use where basically if you have enough battery charge, it's like a roller coaster launch where it just uses it to throw you ahead and then kick on the gas. But it also can do regular hybrid while you're driving, like recharge and switch on and off.
So I think you may have mentioned it, but do you feel like in that Porsche example, did you feel that like a big jump when it went from electricity to gas, or was it just like kind of like, okay, like we're gas now?
I didn't really feel, you felt a jump in speed, because at that point the electric motors, it's all torque off the get-go, so you feel the jump, but by the time you get up to like 20 miles an hour, you start to feel the thrust of the gas engines kick on.
And I'm pretty sure, like I would assume,
feeling that's crazy.
I would assume that especially if you're in a Porsche, you probably get to 20 like fairly quickly.
Yeah, almost instantaneously. I think the 0 to 60 in that car is in the 3-second range. I mean, not that we were getting anywhere near that, because that's on a test track prep. Like, this is just driving around,
right?
Cruising in it. But the main thing I noticed that people talk about with electric cars is that just taking off the line. Because no matter how fast the car is, unless you're like have it revved up and ready to launch, you have to wait for cars to make power. So even if you're in a Lamborghini, you floor it, there's that slight second where the engine revs up and then it pushes you back.
And then you go.
Yeah, that was the main difference I felt in the Porsche compared to any other car, where it just threw you back instantly. But I really would like to take a drive and just have a full electric, regular car, like a Tesla Model 3 S, or even the Bolt GM has the their own version of a Tesla in a way. I don't know if you've checked that one out yet. It's a little bit cheaper than a Model 3. They're like 32,000. They kind of look, I don't want to say they're that ugly, but they're sort of what you were describing in a way, the generic sort of minivan.
The blob.
90s, yeah, like the sort of smaller 90s minivan size, like the old Windstars, and it's just sort of like a utility size. But just Chevy, it's all electric. There's batteries in the floor like a Tesla. Pretty cool. There's no self-driving feature, so it's just if you want an electric car, you can go buy one now. I mean, they're out.
See, I feel like I would rather just wait for myself to be in a better position to get a Tesla than just jumping the gun and just getting just any sort of electric vehicle.
Yeah, because you also, it wouldn't feel as enjoyable at all to stretch your budget a ton and be stressed that I ordered this Tesla, do I regret it? If you got to a point where, you know, okay, like I'm ready to get this car, I've been saving my money for a bit, I think it would be really cool, you know, compared to any other tech purchase, because you get to like pick out with the car customizer tool, and then you just basically are waiting for this car to get delivered to you.
Now, switching gears, but only because they're tonight and I want to get it in the record.
Yeah.
There's some UFC fights on tonight. UFC 239.
I think John Jones is
predictions?
Pull it off.
John
Main
Jones?
event. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love Tiago, right?
Thiago Santos.
Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I think the Thor hammer on his chest is especially
pretty cool.
badass. But you can't count out John Jones, and there's nothing really that's been presented to me to say that John Jones is suddenly going to lose to this guy. Out of all the people he's fought, Gustafsson, he's had wars, he's fought DC, and suddenly this guy's just going to suddenly, out of everyone, just knock out John Jones. I'm not buying it. It could happen, though.
That's... Out of anything, that's what's going to fucking happen is because no one expects this dude to win. I don't. I think that Jones is going to mollywhoop him. But
you never know, though. That's the thing is we get so invested in these guys. Like, there's no
they're
way...
people at the end of the day, you know?
Right. No way Spider Silva can ever lose back in the day. And then his leg broke, and then
Weidman knocks him out.
Knocked out.
Yeah. I mean, he's lost a couple of times since then. So
but now it's normal. You know, but at the time, it was like... It was like a Titan being defeated.
And... I think that John, if I had to guess, he's probably not going to lose until he goes up to heavyweight.
It's consistency. He trains
He's
hard.
very consistent, yeah.
Right. I think you could make a comparison with a lot of other sports in the same way that, yeah, there's going to be, say, the top wide receivers in the NFL might occasionally drop a pass, but they're usually going to make those game-winning catches.
Yeah.
It's like Tom Brady. There's a reason why he's paid so much. Because time after time, people are like, he's lost it or he lost his touch. And those last 1 or 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, he'll throw those laser beams and you're like, he's got it.
Like, he'll turn it on, you know?
Or Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. People are always like, you know, it's almost boring to watch at this point because the guy just keeps winning every race. But he's consistent. That's why. It's like, yeah, there's always the chance, though. He could screw up. But it's low. It's like John Jones
or GSP. That's why people really like me would really like watching. But it's like, okay, he's so dominant. Or Mighty Mouse, like they're so dominant. Like, is this going to be the person that actually will dethrone them, or Floyd Mayweather? You know.
Plus, look at Floyd Mayweather's a great example. But with going back to John, so John Jones, he fought through everyone, making his way up through the weight classes. Because didn't he start out at was he always at light heavyweight?
Yeah. No, he's always been at light heavyweight.
Okay. He put on a little bit of weight though at light heavyweight, like muscle.
Oh yeah, because
he was lankier.
Yeah, he used to be a lot lankier when he was younger.
But he fought a lot of killers going up through that weight class. It's not like you could say he's more of a Conor McGregor where he was already, you know, a huge name and just
fighting Dennis Seaver.
Right, he didn't have massive notoriety at the beginning. Like, I remember when you first introduced me to John Jones, and in the MMA world, people were talking about him, but you didn't hear about him on any sort of major sports news, really?
No, the first time that I remember watching him fight was when he fought, and the only reason why I remember this is because we weren't watching this card for John Jones because he was on like the undercard. It was when do you remember when Kimbo Slice was on The Ultimate Fighter?
Oh yeah, that was the last season I watched.
So
was it season 3, right?
No, I think it was like season 10 or something. They're like 20 something, 30 like now. But we were watching the card for what's his face, Kimbo. I forgot who he was fighting. Possibly Houston Alexander, but we were a lot more interested in that fight, and John Jones just happened to be, you know, like fighting on that card against Matt Hamill, the infamous where he got disqualified for the elbows.
12-6s, yeah.
That was the first time I remember watching him, and like back then I was like, what the fuck? Like, this dude is gonna run through this division, which history showed that's what happened. But,
right, and I haven't noticed any other competitors like this Thiago Santos guy. I mean, he's really good, but I wouldn't say he's torn through the division similar to how Khabib did before he got to McGregor. No, so it's like he's fought a few guys, and now they're kind of throwing him to John.
So, I mean, you know that Thiago Santos, he's only a new light heavyweight, right?
Yeah.
Because he fought in middleweight for the longest time.
Right, I'm saying it's more of a McGregor situation in terms of not... like Jones is in McGregor. Like, this Thiago guy is getting a name, so they're giving him a chance. Like, this is his chance to get to that fame level. But Jones worked his way all the way up through that whole weight class. I think he's going to smoke him.
A big part of it as well, too, light heavyweight is probably the thinnest division in the UFC. John Jones, he's already beaten, like, all of the big names in there. So like Thiago Santos, he was
exactly what I was getting at. Like he's beat Gustafsson, all these other guys we just mentioned.
Gustafsson, Rampage, Shogun,
right, but
Machida.
Thiago hasn't. He's
Cormier.
he's getting his shot at this, sort of big name fight, but only because he's gone through a few guys and he's done well. But he hasn't really won, say, 12 fights against tough competition.
No, because when he was at middleweight, just up until like a year and a half ago, he lost to Musashi at UFC 200. He knocked out. He lost to David Branch. David Branch knocked him out.
Yeah. He's not invincible. It's like he hasn't been touched yet.
No, like at middleweight, he had a very lack. He was about to get cut from the UFC, and then he went up to light heavyweight as a last ditch effort because light heavyweight is a lot more thin. So all he had to do was win, I think, 2 or 3 fights in a pretty decisive fashion, and now he's fighting for the title. That's really goes to show how thin light heavyweight is because John Jones fucking beat everyone else already.
Right.
At this point, they're grasping for straws. It's like
and Gustafsson is semi-retired still. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He said he retired, but he'll probably come back just like most MMA fighters do. They'll retire for a couple of years, do a couple of steroids, and then come back.
Run in the mountains for a bit. I hope he does though. He's one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah, no, he's really good. It's just he can't beat John Jones. Like he struggles with Alexander. He struggles with the top 3 of the division historically.
He's a strong number 2 though, or number 1 contender.
Contender. He'll always be a perennial contender unless if
he's the
DC
gate to John Jones really.
DC, what's his face, Anthony Johnson and John Jones. As long as they're not near the title, he's usually good, except when he just lost his last fight against Anthony Smith. Even that still shocks me.
Yeah, that was really surprising. Anthony Smith had a really good performance that night.
He had an amazing performance, but his performance against compare his performance against Gus to John Jones. It's like, sit down, young man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, John just really put him in his place. He was all confident, and he had all this big hype about him going into the fight, and then John just put him down.
Now, while we're talking about light heavyweight, also on this card, Luke Rockhold is moving up.
Yeah.
So basically, I feel like the word on the street is that if
let's wrap this up. I gotta pee.
if Rockhold beats Jan, then Luke Rockhold is going to get the next shot at the light heavyweight belt, which more than likely will be against John Jones.
I think he's going to get knocked out, though, so we don't have to worry about that.
I could see it. Like, who?
Rockhold.
I could see it because Luke, he's always struggled with good boxers. He's great on the ground. He's got tremendous kicks, but his boxing is not nearly as good as everything else. He's way cockier for what his skill level, like, in that bracket allows him to be.
Yep. I just saw someone on Reddit posted today, probably because of this fight tonight, a clip from when Bisping was fighting Rockhold, and Rockhold dropped his hands a bit and leaned his head forward, and Bisping just clocked him.
Left hand, yeah.
Yeah, he took a few steps back, and then he came in with a hard left again and knocked him to the ground and started beating on him.
So I mentioned David Branch earlier. When David Branch and Luke Rockhold fought, David Branch almost knocked Luke Rockhold out because he was trying to do the same shit, like, oh, I'm not afraid of this guy. He's not going to be able to touch me. And then all of a sudden, like, Luke Rockhold's getting his ass whipped against the fence, and he eventually won the fight. But
I'm really not a fan of his. He's cocky, but not in an entertaining way for the most part. I mean, occasionally he is, but he's usually just like a dick in the post-fight.
But besides for the couple of things I just mentioned, he's so fucking good that
his ground and pound's insane.
That makes me a fan. Just when I see people who are really good, just the pureness of the sport, I'll be a much more big a fan of like that versus someone who just talks a lot of shit.
Yeah, if they have the skill to back up the trash talking, you got to respect it a bit.
Well, I know that there's other big fights, but the last big fight that I'm really excited for on that is Askren and Jorge.
I got money on Askren, so I have to say I hope Ben Askren wins. But it could go either way. I'm a big fan of Masvidal as well.
I like how he's got Jesus hair now. He looks like he's like Jesus now, Jorge, and I feel like that'll probably give him an extra boost. You know,
yeah, powerful hair.
He's got the spirituality on his side,
Yeah.
but Askren's a motherfucker.
Started meditating, bringing it full circle from earlier.
I just like you. I've got Askren as well too. I think that
You can't choke him out.
while Jorge, he's a good defensive wrestler, I think that Askren's just on. Look,
I think he's gonna think he can defensive wrestle Askren, but then Askren's gonna get a hold of something, twist it,
yup.
choke him out somehow.
Look, all it takes is one fucking shot, and Askren can just be dead, asleep, and not. Well, so could Jorge, but I think that if Askren gets a hold of him, if he just touches him, he's not going to let go, and that's where the fight's going to end.
We'll have to find out here in about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Hopefully our predictions panned out, but either way, should be some enjoyable fights.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at TCOC Podcast.
More than I let
Stay safe,
on.
guys.
I need you more than I let on, more than I let on. Oh, we fight like hell's angels at the Vatican, but then again, I couldn't imagine being with anyone else but you. You can't believe that I could be 4 different people so easily. Ugly, fat pig, beautiful, arrogant. Oh, and maybe I need you to bring me down, bring me down. Honey, I need you more than I let on, more than I let on, more than I let on. I need you more than I let on, more than I let on. More than I let on, more than I let on. Baby, I need you more than I let on, more than I let on. I need you more than I let on, more than I let on. I know